The holidays continue, and thrilled to be joined once again by a friend of the show, friend to all, Chhabra from HorizonWithin.ca as we sport our matching, well, our sort of competing ugly Christmas sweaters. Hi, Sim. How you doing?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Strong sweater game.
Yeah, trying. It's happy birthday, Jesus Day.
Yep. This is my Josh Donaldson, 41 home runs, 2015 with the Blue Jays. No big deal. Whatever. Bit of an MVP. It's a fun time with the sweaters because it doesn't matter where you're from and your background, you can incorporate it into something fun. And that makes you almost feel inclusive in your workplace and your family.
Yeah, it's the perfect icebreaker because you could be like, that's a nice sweater, or that's an interesting one. Or,
tell me about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and especially for different generations, breaking that ice, having something that you can relate to, the common theme, something as the ugly Christmas sweater could go a long way to your mental health.
it would, because it takes the pressure off whether, are you pro-Christmas or secular?
Yeah.
It's a very neutral ground for people to just start having casual conversations.
It's something in our society now in Canada, we're so diverse that the concept that everyone celebrates Christmas basically the same way and has the same traditions are long gone. And there are different people from different families and different cultures who have a very tight-knit family experience, but it's different than the traditional, what you see in TV with the old black and white movies, but it doesn't make it any less impactful and important to them.
Absolutely. That's why, if you look at some of the recent Christmas movies that have come out, they've gone away from Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life, and it's gone more to like The Elf.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Or Home Alone, or,
Yep.
You have the quintessential debate of the ages. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not?
Which it is.
It is.
They were at a Christmas party in the Nakatomi Tower.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any hostage situation because there was nobody there.
And John McClane had no reason to go back to LA from New York because it was the Christmas party with Holly, his wife.
Yeah, and you have to and it's a classic Christmas rom-com, right? Gotta make it back.
Yeah. But it highlights the issue that part of our evolution as people, especially in Canada, is understanding that some people, just because they do it differently than you, doesn't make it any better or worse. It's just different.
It is. And, you bring up a very good point because we all experience the holidays differently.
Yes.
And one thing interesting about Canada is that, unlike the US, there's no melting pot concept. It's celebrating our uniqueness collectively.
Yeah.
And this is a very good example of it. The way you look at the different type of Christmas sweaters that are out there. And now it's turned into how can you one up somebody?
Yeah.
It's actually turned into anxiety of do I have the most unique one? I hope I have the most unique one. Or I know the Raptors came out with a really good one in 2019.
They did.
And it was good pennies. I was so I settled for the sock.
Sometimes people in the office place, in the workplace, in school, amongst their friends, maybe a little elf-like, a little too over the top about Christmas. And I think there's a fine line between excited and happy for Christmas, but then maybe offending someone you work with because that's not their reality, but maybe being respectful and being excited, oh, what do you do over the holidays? And actually generally listening to them and being interested in what they have to say and what their experience is.
That is a very good point. And it's much more common now in the modern work culture because our mix of people that we work with has changed so much that, Canadians by virtue, and I can attest to this because I moved from the States up here. And I know the difference between the Canadian secular or inclusive culture versus the American inclusive culture. And I'm not promoting one or demoting the other. So for in the Canadian workforce, a lot of times what people want to do is they want to share their excitement, but at the same time, they want to be respectful of their inclusivity so they're not offending anybody. And, and that creates the perfect opposites, right? Like, so you have this desire of excitement and expression on one hand, and then you have this, how do I do it in a responsible fashion that allows the other one to not feel that I'm being encroached upon? And so one of the ways that I kind of look at it is I call it the 30, 60, 90 rule.
Oh,
And what it's meant for is when we are trying to gauge for ourselves, okay, how do I decide how much is too much, how much is too little, right? And it becomes a little bit difficult, and that's where I feel a lot of people then start getting overwhelmed, or a lot of people then start re-questioning themselves, or it just creates this extra vacuum of thought that has very little value. So what I've kind of invented is, or created rather, is I call it the Buddy the Elf benchmark.
right.
Okay,
Who was at 100 all the time?
150.
Yeah.
Santa.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, like if I were to say, okay, this is Buddy at a 10, where would you rate yourself?
Well, I think I'm about a 3.5 to a 4, but on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, when now I have my family with me, I'm about a 9.5, 10.
Right. So see, that's perfectly how I've kind of like designed this. I call it the 30, 60, 90 rule, right? And what it is saying, when you're in social environments, when you're in professional environments, it's a good benchmark to have 30% exuberance or 30% way of expression.
Right.
Okay. Or excitement. The 60 is more where you're in family gatherings or in personal settings. And what I mean by family gatherings and personal settings, it's more like, close friends,
Yes.
extended families, that kind of stuff. And then the 90 is more on the individual lens.
Mhm.
So this is where, the sweater comes on, the hat comes on, the socks, right? And it allows you to then naturally have this sense of awareness because you know that I'm environmentally aware. And at the same time, I'm not limiting myself on how I want to express. I'm just toning it down. So a very, very good example of that would be is when you look at Buddy the Elf and he goes to Walter's office.
Yeah.
That's 100% Buddy.
Yes.
Now, for him, even if he was staying at 60, would be a feat, but 30 would be ideal. Or when he gets a job at the toy shop,
Yes.
right? And the next morning, it's just right. So this rule, I mean, it's a broad rule, but it kind of like helps you kind of create this sense of like where you sit. Another way for you to remember is it's a rhyme. It's 369, I'm fine. Right. And that's the same thing, 30, 60, 90. So 369, I'm fine. And if you're more of a visual person, if you've heard the thing at arm's length, right? So if you extend your arm out and you go at arm's length, so your fingertips, professional setting, your wrist, social settings, your elbow, family settings,
Right.
your shoulder, individual settings.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You then become Buddy. So now there's your 369, I'm fine, 30, 60, 90, right? And then this way kind of like allows you to kind of gauge the environment, regulate. So you're not changing how you celebrate.
But you're not
changing.
overwhelming people in your personal space. Like, whoa, too much.
Right, because now you're not Buddy. So
Yes.
wait, I'm at dad's office or I'm at home and so it doesn't change your beliefs or how you want to celebrate. What it does is it gives you a tool to match it to the environment. And it takes away, am I too much or am I too little? To, okay, I know the environment in, how much of that would I want to bring into this? How much of what I want to share, I want to bring into this? And a lot of times the 30% rule works in professional environments, not per se during the work days. It's more around the the holiday party, or you don't want to be. You may be in a position of management. You may be in a position of a C-suite where you have to be a lot more aware of how much is too much and how is
Absolutely.
too little. And this kind of meets that equilibrium. So one of the things that you can also incorporate is, some things that we struggle with is, what kind of questions would we be able to ask? Like, what would we ask somebody if, like, say, you and I are sitting across and we may be at a Christmas party and we work in different departments. I don't know how much you celebrate. You may have a sweater, I may have a sweater, but that's not an indication of our passion to the holiday.
Would it be inconsiderate to say, "Oh, how are you? What are you doing over the holidays?" Is that an acceptable way to ask?
It is, but they may not celebrate the holidays, right? Or they may be going through a personal experience, and now you may not offer them a space, or they may feel overwhelmed.
Right.
So one of the ways that, I share with clients that are kind of like going, okay, how would I address this? And I would be like, one way to go is, do you prefer to keep it low key, or do you celebrate around this time of year?
Oh, okay.
And what that does is, now it's given them an opportunity to choose, because you're asking them, do they prefer to keep it low key or celebrate?
And it gives them a bit of a
And it gives
space
them
to work
a
with.
legway, because now
Yeah.
you've not said, how do you celebrate the holidays this time of year? And what that does is, now it's framed it to a bigger context
Oh,
of this time of year, because you could be celebrating Hanukkah, you could be celebrating Kwanzaa.
right.
Within the Christian denomination, you have the Orthodox, which celebrated a lot later.
Yes.
So this gives you that opportunity to ask a genuine question, but to the receiver, it gives them an opportunity to respond without pressure.
I like the concept of the potluck office party in the holidays, because people from different backgrounds and different cultures bring different foods, and people end up engaging in a conversation. Oh, that's fantastic. What is that? I've never had that before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you put them in their comfort zone, because they're obviously proud of what they made.
Yeah.
And they're sharing something from their background, their culture, their country that you've never had before. You're like, wow, this is really good. What is that?
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that just strips away maybe any holiday anxiety, but there's almost a sense of pride of, hey, this is a favorite food we have at this time of year where I'm from, and I'd like you to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Canadians love food.
Yes.
And there's food, weather, sports.
Right.
You find one of those, chances are you've made it into their hearts, right? Like, it's one of the easiest.
Instant connection.
Instant connection, right? Like, and so with food, that's a great way to do it, where you're like, hey, what is that? And another way, because, we then kind of like go, was that a rude question that I'm asking? Am I phrasing it right? So, the idea is how much less re-questioning you're doing in your own mind, because that's where the stresses of holidays also start coming in. You become overly aware of structuring your thoughts. So, another way to approach the same thing would be, is there anything on this table that is a must-have that I should try?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
And 90% of the time, if you're standing somebody next to somebody, they're going to point to what they brought. So it saves you from asking them,
Okay.
what'd you bring?
Yes.
Because everybody's going to say, that's a must-have. And now you can go, huh, that looks kind of neat. What's in it? How would you make it? And now, because they've led you into that conversation,
right,
and you didn't point the item out,
and it's a sense of pride for them to go, hey,
try that.
Yeah, this is what our family makes.
And now because the idea is to create conversation. The idea is to feel at ease for yourself, and at the same time allow that inclusivity to happen so they can feel ease with themselves. And now you're celebrating what it's about, which is bringing people together.
That means, I think I'm like a lot of Canadians. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. I don't want to offend anyone. So my go-to now is like happy holidays, but they can see that I'm a Christmas guy. They'll go Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot in social settings.
How do you approach it? Like, what do you do different? Or
Oh,
what would you like to see?
oh no, I think it's actually nice. I don't know if I would do it differently, but I'm like, it is the holidays, and I hope everyone has a happy holidays, whether it's Christmas or whatever. So I just say, hey, happy holidays. And sometimes people go, oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's a nice little exchange.
Would you be wanting to be able to say Merry Christmas at the get-go? Or?
Well, I don't like to assume that everyone celebrates Christmas. When I was a kid, it was a given. As everyone in my circle, it was all Christmas, but the world and the country has changed so much, Sam. I don't like to make that assumption.
That's a very good point. And I feel, a lot of times we want to be polite.
Yes.
And then the issue becomes, where is it that I can then comfortably be able to say Merry Christmas? Right.
Correct.
And it depends on your setting. Now, is this more when you're saying, when you're like at Starbucks grabbing a coffee, or is this more like when you're talking to client, is it a different environment in which you would like this to be more, or is it more just a broad?
Well, I know within my immediate family, it's Merry Christmas because we're all celebrating Christmas. But in a public setting, in a store, or in a mixed setting at a workplace, I'm probably going to say Happy Holidays because I don't pretend to know everyone's background and beliefs, and I just figure it's safe.
I agree with you on that. So, I mean, it's a very good point, and I think it's kind of like social etiquette more than anything else.
Right.
And that's a good thing to be aware of, is having that sense of being. But at the same time, it could be where the other person is understanding of that this is a festive holiday that is dominantly celebrated within this country.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it's kind of neat to kind of like have that conversation. So obviously, you won't be able to do this at a Starbucks when you're like trying to grab your coffee from your barista, and they've got 18 drinks on the line. And you're like, is it right?
Excuse me.
But at the same time, you're at a restaurant.
Right.
And
right.
You're talking to your server, or you're talking to your bartender, or and you kind of want to gauge them, because now that changes how you want to share your excitement.
Correct.
I was in the hospitality industry prior to this, and I would experience this quite a bit, where the guests would be like, well, happy holidays, and I'd be like, Merry Christmas, and they'd be like, are you okay with saying Merry Christmas? And I'm like, well, it is a holiday, and it is the festive season,
and it is
and
that
it's
day.
the most appropriate thing to say, which is Merry Christmas. I feel that neither approach is incorrect. What I feel is you kind of being true to yourself, but at the same time being environmentally aware. So that I feel is a better. So if you're like, say, in a restaurant setting, sure, if you're comfortable saying Merry Christmas, right? It's the inflection, it's the tone, it's the presumption. So, one other way of doing that, breaking the ice. So like, say, coming back to, this will work better in an environment where you have extended engagement. This cannot work in a quick exchange. So like a cashier.
Yes.
Okay. So another good way to do that would be like, are there any traditions you celebrate around this time of year? Right? Or you could be like, are there any traditions you like practicing this time of year? Right? And what that does is that now, again, you've taken the pressure off Christmas, and you're saying, are there any traditions that you like observing around this time of year? I think that's the best way to say it is, do you observe anything? And by doing that alone, it's taking the pressure off Christmas. It's giving them the opportunity to speak, because that's what you're curious to know. Do they observe? What do they observe? And then meet them there. So it could be like, coming back to myself, and you're my guest, and you're serving me, I'm serving you, and you go, are there any traditions you observe this time of year? I'd be like, yeah, I observe X, Y, and Z.
And you're like, well, that's interesting. I never thought that's really cool.
And there's your middle, right?
Yeah.
Because we're looking for that middle. So I would say more, those are your better approaches. But if you're at the cash and you're in a retail space, read the person, right? You're the best judge in that moment. And saying Merry Christmas around Christmas in a retail setting, I may be incorrect on this, but yes, you're being mindful. And if you're a regular visitor to this establishment, then Merry Christmas is appropriate because you're coming there year round. So it's not like you're doing a one-off visit, right? Because we usually most 90% of the time visit stores that we are regular in pattern.
Exactly.
Right? So you're aware of it, saying it to them, they're aware of you as regular. That's acceptable.
Maybe it's my age, and maybe it's just as I've gotten older, I know what I want to do at the Christmas and what our traditions and beliefs are, but I'm totally open that anyone from any other country or culture in Canada, if they do something different, it makes no difference in my life. You do what you want to do. I know what we're going to do. I just want people to be healthy and happy over the holidays.
It's interesting you say that because we can then say, oh, you know what, this culture, this religion celebrates it differently. But if you even look at it through the Christianity, right, and you expand that out. So I was born in India, and the part of the town that I lived in was predominantly Indo-Portuguese Roman. So they're Goans. Oh. Okay. So they were all Catholics. I went to a Catholic school till grade 8. So for us, Christmas was very Roman Catholic traditional. You had, we didn't have to go to the mass, but the church was right down the street.
Huh.
You had Christian friends. So
seafood?
Lots of it.
Yes.
And Christmas Day, it was Portuguese, Goan fusion food. So it had their traditions. We moved to the States, and Thanksgiving is bigger in the States than time. Christmas.
Yeah.
But the way they present it, it seems like Christmas is the big holiday. It's actually Thanksgiving. Christmas is more of the muted holiday. And in India, when I used to go to friends, we would eat turkey on Christmas Day. When we moved to the States, turkey moved to November.
For Thanksgiving.
Talk about culture shock. That's culture shock. Because I'm like, then what do you guys eat on Christmas Day? And they're like, ham. I'm like, but we eat ham in Easter. Like, what is going on? Why did you guys bring me?
I can't understand what food to eat.
You're like, cool. Right? And then we moved to Atlanta. Now, Atlanta, if you think American Protestant is a religion that's unique, try meeting somebody that's Southern Baptist or evangelical.
That's
celebrate Christmas with them. It's a whole different lens, right? Then we moved to Canada. Here I got introduced to Protestant English, right? I got introduced to Protestant European, Catholic European, Roman Catholic, Orthodox. So each one, to answer your question, within Christianity is like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
So, when you kind of pinch it together and say, oh, but Christmas is common, actually it's so many within. And I'll give you a very good example. So I have friends that are British English, and then I have friends that are Scottish. And their Christmas traditions, even though they're from the United Kingdom,
very different.
Very different. Micro nuances. Just, certain things that they do and, how they celebrate it, whether it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Another one, in the States, there's no concept of Boxing Day. Canada, there's Boxing Day.
It's a huge deal.
The rest of the world,
yeah.
It's Boxing Day to us is what Black Friday and Thanksgiving is to them.
Yes.
When I talk to my American friends and they'd be like, oh, so I'm like, it's Boxing Day. They're like, what is Boxing Day? And then I have to explain it to them. And I'm like, it's kind of like your Black Friday. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's
yeah.
So holidays become unique. As a immigrant or a first generation immigrant, it's a great way to get to know the culture. It's a great way to appreciate so many micro fractions within the Christianity arc that you kind of like go, wow. And then when you meet people like yourself, what's your major ancestry?
Oh, well, my mother's French Canadian, Roman Catholic. My father was a son of a German immigrant, Roman Catholic. So we grew up Catholic, and my wife's Dutch Protestant.
So it's perfect, right? Like, so now you have these two different fractions, and then you're like, okay, how do we blend the two? So you kind of keep some of the traditions, but at the same time, you blend in some of the modern, and then the kids, and then it just becomes a mosaic.
It's more food for us. We find with the kids now, they're in their 20s. It's, we will see my mother-in-law. She's in a long-term care home at Christmas Eve because in their culture, they would open presents Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
But then it's more like we just want to sit down and have a meal with the kids because they're adults, they have their own lives, and it's a chance to spend a few hours with them and just enjoy their company because we find that more and more precious. And that's the holidays for us, is just spending some time with our kids before they go back to their respective cities and their respective lives.
That is common in any celebration. If you genuinely like filter it down, all celebrations are a way to get people together. It doesn't matter. Christmas just happens to be the main focal point because it's been the most dominant religion. What's changing is that we're making room for other religions to be able to be acknowledged and celebrated.
They should.
They are. Like, if you look at over the last 15 years, like we've been in Canada since 97, and all of them are getting their space. And this is where that 30-60-90 rule comes in, because it's not only applicable to people wanting to celebrate Christmas, this is applicable to any person wanting to celebrate anything. Because all it means is, you have a level of excitement and you have an expression on one side of the coin, and then you have your environment. And as long as everybody recognizes, hey, listen, when we're in outer settings, so like for you coming back to the cashier, well, that's your 90% parameter.
That's right.
Right. Because now you're in a very immediate 1 minute maximum engagement. Now you're aware. So you can then choose Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas based on that you have information.
Right.
Prior to that, you're second guessing it. That's the only difference. Nothing's changed. What's changed is you have an ability to process that information.
Right.
And if we all share the same view, well, now we have this common middle. Common middle is what? How do we inclusively celebrate each other's celebrations and be unique about it?
Yeah, I think, especially Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, but now Edmonton and Calgary, such big cities, the demographics are rapidly changing. And I think it's a good thing for the country to be aware, like, hey, I'm going to celebrate this. You're going to celebrate that. Oh, that food. All of a sudden, you're at the office Christmas party. You're understanding different cultures. I remember being 13 years old, and my dad was in the Air Force. We were in California. And it's the first time I met someone who didn't celebrate Christmas. And we were in the line at the cafeteria. I was getting some milk. And they said, well, no, I'm Jewish. We celebrate Hanukkah. I was from a small town, Trenton, Ontario. Yeah. So I came home. I said, what are they talking about? And they explained to me like, oh. And that was the beginning of understanding that different cultures, different people have a different thing they do in the holidays. And it's just as important. It's just as righteous as what we're doing. But that's kind of like something I've kind of liked understanding different people, Sim. This is where we're from. This is our culture. This is our background. We eat this, we do that. Like, oh, cool.
Yeah. And you find a way to celebrate. So I got introduced to Kwanzaa.
Oh, okay.
Living in the States, because something that doesn't carry over. India's got a plethora of holidays because it's a very secular and religiously diverse country. So growing up, we're accustomed to a lot of different religious holidays and cultures. And even like, I went to a Catholic school, but in our school, you had kids that were Muslim, you had kids that were Jewish, you had kids that were Jain.
Is that right?
And the only advantage we had of being non-Christian is when there was mass, we got to go home early.
Oh.
And when they would have service, we got to stay in class. So those are two advantages we had of being
Okay.
right. And you're in grade 4 and everybody else has to go to church.
That's
The church was right around the corner.
You're
right?
like, woohoo.
we got to go on the playground.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, we're like, this is great,
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to say is that the demographic of Canada is changing. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to worry about how we share the holidays, because we know how to be adjusted. We genuinely have that in us, because I can say when I moved up here for university, my blend-in experience, that's where I got introduced to, a Italian Christmas.
They do good Christmas food. They do a great Christmas.
And my friend warned me, they're like, come hungry. I'm like, what do you mean come hungry?
Because
they're
you'll
like,
be-
"No.
Yeah.
You're going to eat. And then it's like my big fat Greek wedding,
Stretchy pants.
Yeah. Okay, I make you something. And he said, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. And that's where I got introduced to, the English version of Protestants, because I came from the States.
Yes.
Right. And I got to experience more diverse ways of experiencing Christmas here, including other diverse holidays, than I have anywhere else.
I'm a big believer in the Christmas movie and the evolution of the Christmas movie, that it's less about the birth of Christ and religion and more about these family scenarios. It's a rom-com. It's dealing with family dynamics and how they've the Christmas movies have evolved to reflect society. And I mean, for us, I just find them entertaining and enjoyable.
Yeah. We've come a long way from Home Alone.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the
Netflix is all like 25 of them.
Right. But even the style of movie, because so if you look at Home Alone on one end and you look at The Elf on the other.
Yeah.
They both are non-Christmas traditional movies where, there's Santa as a central role.
Yeah.
The sleigh goes through. Elf, it does. But actually, even in Home Alone, it does. But what I'm saying is that we've come a long way, even as society, on how we celebrate the holidays. And that, to me, is where we are a very inclusive society. Yeah, we could say, the movies were made in the States and all that. It's still a Western view, right? And it's an opportunity to eat. It doesn't, right? And people take pride in cookies. People take pride in decorations.
Yes.
Everybody finds a little something that they take a pride in, and you just got to find a way to come together and celebrate that. And Christmas does that beautifully.
If I'm in a workplace and I'm South Asian, I'm Muslim, I'm whatever background, and I don't celebrate Christmas at all, but I'm trying to be respectful of my coworkers who do, are there certain boundaries, certain tools I should use to let them be them without infringing on me?
That's a very good question. And I can filter through some of my personal experiences of what I use to kind of break the ice, right? Two things Canadians love, right? I've already mentioned food. The other thing is a dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
Okay. And the quirkier it is, and the more it's kind of like, they'll love you for it. So one of the questions I used to use, and I still use it, and when I go up to them, I'd be like, so is it true that the fruitcake is the most regifted item around Christmas? Deadpan face, just like a genuinely curious question.
Like, I got to know.
Right. Is it true? And 9 out of 10 times they go, yeah, that's the most absurd thing, because nobody likes fruitcake. And it just breaks the ice. And that's what you're looking for.
Right.
And so that's one way to do it. Another one way to do it is we like to know where people are from.
Right.
Right. And
we're genuinely interested.
Genuinely interested. So you have an advantage because I'm not from here. Now, I have that disadvantage because I got to figure out two things. One, where in Canada you're from, because again, you're not right. That's a generational background that I don't know how directly to ask.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I would also use, aside from the humor part, because this would only work around the holidays, I would ask, is Toronto always been home for you?
Great one. Great one.
And what that would do, a majority of them, and I learned so much about even people from, I have a friend that moved from Sioux Lookout,
That is way up northern Ontario.
way north. For me, before Sioux Lookout, Sudbury was the furthest north my mind would go.
From Sioux Lookout, Sudbury might as well be Miami.
Right? So, and then once we started talking and then they showed where they were from and da 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 da, I'm like, this is beautiful. And they're like, yeah, I have to fly to Thunder Bay. Then I'm like looking at Thunder Bay and I'm like, that's a 2-hour flight? Like,
Oh,
2 hours you're in Florida,
yeah, exactly.
right? Like, I'm still in Ontario. And
Oh,
so that one question, one, it takes the pressure off me. It takes the pressure off you. It also eases you from then wondering how do you break the ice on this side without offending. But it gives me an opportunity to get to know somebody else in a very different way. And now all of a sudden, you could lead. I have friends from the Yukon. What are the odds of that?
really?
Just through that question.
Or how about the shared experience of I have to pick up a relative at the airport Friday at 3:30. Friday at 3:30 at the airport at Pearson. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's a traffic. Canadians, like on Torontonians, the 401.
You better leave now.
Yeah. Like, like how earlier we were talking about, you're like, oh, store storming. Like, I'm like, where are you? Like Newmarket. I'm like, you might as well sleep here.
Yeah.
It's an automatic thing. But, in work settings and stuff like that, has Toronto always been home for you? It's a very warm question because now it shows also genuine connection.
So you might assume someone is, and then you get their background. You're like, I didn't know they moved that much. And that could be for anyone in the office.
Right. Or you could be a West Ender moving to Central, or you could be an East Ender. These are little terms, right? Like GTA, Golden Horseshoe, right? Like, so it allows also knowledge because it's very easy to look at it and blanket it. And, when a person moves to a country, it's very broad. So you typecast narrow, and it's the same thing, reverse where, for you, India's a very big, but you're Indian, and then it's my opportunity to narrow it down, and this allows you to then narrow it down.
So my dad was in the Air Force, and we moved around a lot.
Yeah.
I was born in France. We've lived in Ontario and California, Nova Scotia, Ontario. So we moved a lot. And it wasn't until I started college that I met people who didn't move growing up. And I said, what do you mean you didn't move?
Yeah.
Wasn't your father transferred?
Yeah.
No, he's worked the same. And I had never met anyone until I was 19 who didn't spend their whole life moving around from province to province or country to country with their parents. That's all I knew.
How was that for you?
It was like, I was a revelation. Like maybe I did grow up differently because growing up, we all had the same thing. Half the people in the base would move out. The other half would move in every summer. So every summer you just saw Allied van lines and Sunflower moving and all this, or Mayflower moving every summer. And it was like, and then at Christmas, went back to Camp Borden, the base, with other people I was in high school with who had gone to college and university. And then they were comparing notes going, yeah, I guess it was different for us. We didn't know. We thought everyone, like that's how you grew up.
So I call that the kaleidoscopic lens, because for you, the world is a fractal of pieces.
Yes.
And so and it's very expected, right? Because you get two polar opposites, right? You get the fractal of pieces, and you then get the singular vision that haven't had the experiences.
Yeah.
It's these little, whether it's the holidays, whether it's social gatherings, it's these little icebreakers, and then just kind of like create that bridge.
I was like, oh, I didn't know you lived there. I didn't know you lived there. And because you may not know that about your people you work with. And that, to me, it's a great way to connect with people that you like, I really don't have anything in common. Then you realize, oh, actually, we do have something in common.
Right.
Shouldn't, I mean, I guess maybe I understand why some people get stressed and there's anxiety in the holidays. I just look forward to those couple days where it's only the couple days a year I find, Sim, where we don't do anything. We just hang out and eat some food and watch some movies because we're always so busy. To me, that's the nice thing about the holidays.
That's a very true statement, but because of individual lived experiences, right? So it's, for some, it could be, a time of reflection because of someone they lost,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So separating the excitement and the expectations, right? And then matching it to saying, okay, how do I curb my enthusiasm 30, 60, 90,
Yes.
right? Where now, even in your, say, in your family lens, right? Like, so say, for example, you always have family get togethers,
Yeah.
right? And it's been a tradition, it goes on forever, right? And now a family member who hosts or does whatever for their personal reasons cannot. That disrupts the cycle. Now for you, all of a sudden it's like, well, but da, 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 right? And that's what I'm trying to say is that it becomes individual each year. And when we learn how to match that from 90 in, this is where you can be all the buddy you want.
Yeah. All the way up to here.
No, buddy's inside,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? Once you're outside past the shoulder, now you become
Ah.
environmental aware.
Got it.
So now when you still have conviction to your beliefs, so we're not changing how you see the world because now we know you see it through a kaleidoscopic lens. What you now do is go, okay, how do I taper it? So when they're receiving it, they're not receiving it at the same intensity. That's the meaning.
And I don't think that's too much to ask of all of us.
Individual, right?
Yes.
It's, and that's why I appreciated this episode because it kind of like allows us to have a genuine conversation and be reflective about it and go, okay, all I have to do is tune it down and use the Elf movie as your reference point. It's a really good reference point.
Yeah.
How much is too much?
Right.
And then you could be like, all I have to do is dial the tones. I don't have to change, like adjusting the volume,
Right.
right?
The show's still on. It's just not as loud.
It's just adjusting the volume.
Right.
That's it. So,
Right.
so you're still celebrating it at the same level of belief. You're expressing it at a intensity that matches the environment.
I'm finding as I'm getting older too, the technology, the capability to FaceTime family and friends that I haven't connected with in a while or phone them on that day. It gives me an excuse like, oh, I haven't talked to Sim in a while. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. I love FaceTime because before, like my high school friends that I grew up with, right? For us now, it's become where we chalk the time and then we'll just do like a group chat. But
That's
now
awesome.
we can see each other.
Yeah.
Before it was like, oh, how's it going? Da, da, da. Like it was one of those voice calls. Now it's like,
They're like, hey, what's that in the background?
what's that?
Yeah.
Or like, what's going on and stuff like that. So technology's come a long way to get in touch with people and stay in touch with people at a much faster rate, which also shortens that sense of loneliness that a lot of people tend to experience. Because now all of a sudden, you could have a distant relative or like, if you go back in time when you'd be traveling a lot,
Yeah.
being able to see grandma at 7 would have meant the world to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the same. There are so many advantages for both grandma and you in modern times. And so, yeah.
So here's a question I had for you, Sim. My partner and I have a couple of holiday obligations coming up, which is pretty, get invited, but we can't go to all of them. How do you say no in a proper way? Because you just can't be everywhere at all times.
That is, I feel, the question of the ages when it comes to any culture, any holiday, any invitation. It's how do you politely say no?
It's not that I don't like to be with you. It's just I don't have the time sometimes.
Right. And, it goes on the scaling of proximity to relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're judging them as, I don't spend a lot of time with you or whatever. It's individual. It's unique to the individual. It's a shared space versus somebody that's just alone. So like, say if you were by yourself, your decision process would involve just based on your beliefs on that shared space.
Yes.
So it could be very well be like, it's her best friend.
Right.
And you're indifferent to that. Or it could be your best friend and she's indifferent to that. And now you're competing to flipping a coin. Right?
Yeah.
That's a conversation. That's a genuine conversation. It's not about what they mean to you, it's what it means to you.
And I think
as a
all
collective.
couples have that, don't they?
But it's a conversation.
Yes.
It's a genuine conversation. There's no mystery math to this. There's no magic numbers to this. There's a genuine, authentic sitting across from each other and saying, okay, how many weekends do we have? 4, right?
And it goes quick.
4 are given, right? And then work down. So you go, okay, of those 4, how many realistic functions can we attend without burnout,
Right.
right? And mathematically, it's about 6. Genuinely, it's 6, and that's the upper limit. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta
I
be
agree.
really good past 6, right?
Yeah.
So you go, okay, if 6 is my upper limit, there's 4 weekends, right? Christmas doesn't count,
No.
right? So basically, it's the last week of November, 3. You skip Christmas, and then depending on how New Year's Eve falls, you may or may not, right? Or you may do that last weekend of New Year's,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, which of these are most critical? So you could like, okay, family gets priority, right? And then you could have like a rotating where, home or away, right? So it's like how we do for fantasy league, right? Like you're
Exactly.
pulling names, right? And
Yeah.
you do a draft.
This year we go there, but next year we come here.
You just do a draft where, there's a one side is more favored. So
Oh.
the picks are better.
Okay,
right?
that's interesting.
And over the years, you can exchange drafts, you can buy drafts, whatever. And it's a fun way to do it. And then all you do is you create a draft and you go, number 1 pick goes to you. And then you go into your pot of your people.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, we're going to Sim's place.
Same, boom, comes up there. And now, they get to pick. There you go. And there's only 6 slots.
Ah,
Right?
Okay. Okay. That's a great, fair way to do it.
And then you can have your wild card sitting on the side. Like if you go, you know what, maybe let's swap, whatever. What it does is it turns into a conversation between the parties that are involved. You may have kids that want to do something with your friends. And all you do is you sit down and you have a conversation.
Yeah.
I feel, the draft way, and it's an excellent way of doing it where everybody gets around, and you figure it all out. But the bottom line is, what have you done? You've gotten the family together. You've acknowledged everyone's priorities. You've respected everyone's positions. And then you've picked the list. And there's no offense to that because that's what's important to the family.
And you weren't forcing something on someone. It was a fun, come by chance kind of thing.
Right. But now as a family, you've already determined, right? Like, so by end of October, early November, your December is already marked up.
Yeah.
So if you get a last minute invite, well, there's no offense to it because everyone knows that Christmas invites happen in November. By Remembrance Day, you have an idea of where you're committing, right? And then by mid-November, it's like Remembrance Day happens before American Thanksgiving. 90% from what I've experienced, even for myself, it's like, okay, which slot? And then
you're booked.
You just commit and you're done. And it's those settings.
Yeah.
Because you lose 2 of those to office environments. And then depending on, now that we have more than one work position or workplace, those go. So you can only do so many on the weekdays. And personal care is important. Having that conversation forefront and presenting that is not a bad thing to do. It's actually an intelligent thing to do. But it boils down to having that conversation with yourself, looking at a realistic number and saying, 6 is pushing. There's nothing wrong with having that number for yourself.
And this is why I'm really glad we had this conversation. You can get more details at horizonwithin.ca with Sim, because if you go into the holidays with some ammunition, with some tools, with a game plan, it takes so much stress off your shoulders.
Absolutely. And that's what the holidays are about. Holidays are also about being able to enjoy them at a level that is comfortable to you.
Yes.
So my scale works also in gauging personal level of strength. It's a little bit more involved. I would highly encourage for anyone to go on the website. I offer a consult, a 15-minute consult, a complimentary consult. Book the consult.
Yeah.
And we can then talk about, you could say, hey, look, I have 15 events. What do I do? We'll figure something out. You know what I mean? Because then I can show you how to prioritize, how to wither it out, right? What I'm trying to get at is there's always a solution. There's always a solution. We just need to find a way to get to it.
Because I have some friends with, I think the term is blended family, where they have kids from their new partner and they have their own kids. And then the Christmas Day, it's an absolute, it's like Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You got to be there, then we got to go there. And that's the day.
Yeah, it's Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
That's all it is. But then you find a way to make it work.
Yeah. But
They got 10 seasons out of it.
Yeah. But that's horizonwithin.ca. You speak to Sim,
Yeah.
you get some tools, you get some ammunition, get some really cool, ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I'm just thinking about all the Christmas treats. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. But Sim, this is a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
And very enjoyable, and just some, easy way to get through the holidays. The holidays, I just think about it. The stores are always open. We're always running around. I just think maybe just one day where we just unplug and just don't run the roads, don't go anywhere, just hang out, get the stretchy pants on, eat some food, and just enjoy each other's company.
But you don't have to wait till the 25th for that. You can make any day Christmas.
I guess.
Right? I mean, then you have two. Right?
So are you looking at it as like a Christmas warm up to Christmas Day?
No, you could have everything that you mentioned for yourself any day you want and go, okay, this is my Christmas, because Christmas Day, you have to be on, right?
Oh, I never thought of that.
That's your 90. That's what 90 means.
Okay.
So like some people have true passion and they're like, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. So, I presented this to a client and I'm like, well, why don't you make one day your Christmas? And they're like, what do you mean? And I go, well, this number is not arbitrary. This number is actually something that you can use. So in your 90, pick one day, let the family know today's my Christmas day. And what does that mean? It means stretchy pants, enjoying a meal.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. For me, it's Love Actually.
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. I think there should be a standoff between like three.
Alan Rickman should have been ashamed of himself for his behavior.
Yeah. Or even Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire is a good Christmas movie.
Oh, I never thought of that. That's good.
Ghostbusters is another one.
Oh, love Ghostbusters.
Back to the Future. We can go on and on.
Yes.
Like, I think that's another episode. Name your top 10 Christmas movies.
He's Sim. I'm Jim. Thank you for watching. We learned a lot today. Horizonwithin.ca.
Thank you.